Make this the thumbnail page. All the meats. Alright guys, Dave here at PFS. Today we are going to cut up my brother-in-law's small doe he shot here with the crossbow. He got his first crossbow kill, I think Saturday night, was it right, Johnny? Saturday night?
Friday night.
Friday
Saturday.
night.
You're right, Saturday.
Saturday night. He got his first crossbow. Unlike myself this morning, I got to do some re-zeroing on mine. So stay tuned. We're going to show you the cuts, the rumps, the tenderloins, and all that good stuff. Johnny's really good at processing and cutting up deer. So we're going to probably do some fast forward through the part where we're going to skin it and peel it out. But stay tuned. We're going to show you how we process our deer. We've been processing our deer now for, well, ever since I was little. My little girl's over there wanting to peep through and look at us. So we're going to show you how we do it. There's 1.5 million different ways. I've seen a bunch of videos out there, but I'm going to do a video today on how we do it. So let's get rock and rolling, Johnny.
All right. So we're going to start. You can either use one or two knives. I've got here a 6-inch semi-stiff boning knife, and then on this one it's just a little, I guess 3-inch blade really. So we're going to start out, probably skin it with the small one here, and then we'll go with the boning knife for actually processing it. So.
I'm going to move the camera around on you here and there, and everything, guys. Once we get going, we'll show you, get some close-ups on it.
So the first thing we want to do, I like starting from the top down, and just to kind of go from there. That way we can just pull it up once and go that route. So the first thing you don't want to do is cut these tendons that it's hanging on, because it will fall off the gambrel there. So the first thing we want to do is we'll come up the insides here, straight up to where we want to make the cut up here. So to start the de-skinning process here. So we'll start in here and go up here. And as you're doing this, you want to, as you can see here, it's just kind of, it looks like it's peeling away, but I'm just taking and separating the skin from the outer skin from this inside kind of film skin
layer
here.
Of fat or something there.
Yeah, so I'm not cutting into the meat. You're just kind of letting the knife ride over it, and it'll do the work there. So just make sure your knife's good and sharp, and it'll get through all this with no problem there.
This is the hardest part of skinning here, because getting it around the leg. Once you get around the leg, you can kind of just pull it down. I've seen some people take like a tennis ball around the hide and wrap it up and pull it down. Mm-hmm. Seen some people hook it up to like a truck bed and hang it on a tree and pull it inside out, so to say. But, like I said, there's a
lot of ways
handful of different ways everybody likes to do it. Some people take, that hump public land and way out in the middle of nowhere, they skin it and do everything on the ground, right there without even hanging it. Just depends on what style of hunting your situation you're in. Everyone's a little bit different.
Alright, so we're going to come around here. Get in there a little more.
Just right before the tendon, pretty much.
Yeah,
right
the highest
there, right?
I go is right up in this tendon, and then we'll show you where to make your cut at here as well, coming down. So that's important. You don't go cutting that tendon.
Especially if you're skinning out a buck, right? All them glands up in there kind of make your meat taste a little weird.
Yeah, you don't want to gut way up into here, because that's a sin gland.
For those who've never really skinned one, we're just going to try and explain everything the best we can to you. If you're a seasoned deer hunter and skinner, then we're not going to tell you probably anything you don't already know. How far a shot was this one, Johnny?
This is only about 22, 23.
22 or 23 yards? How far did she run?
She probably only ran about 20, 30 yards, so.
It's not bad.
When I seen her jump is about where she expired at, so.
Really?
It was actually strange, because I didn't think she would be there, but she was.
while he's working on that, guys, here is, this side was the entry, right? Or was it?
Yeah, that was the entry there. Yep.
So this is the entry right behind this front shoulder. For those of you who are looking, you want to try and tuck right in the best you can on this crease line right here on the front shoulder. The lungs are right up in here. So it's perfect broadside. So that was the entry, and right here is the exit. So it was almost a perfect shot from side to side. There wasn't much of a vertical shot. A lot of times, if you guys take in consideration, if you're hunting from a higher elevated spot from deer stand, you're going to want to shoot it higher up here because you want to try and aim for that shoulder on the back side. You don't want to aim for this shoulder. If you aim for right here and you're elevated, you're going to come out right at the bottom and you're not going to hit the other set of lungs. You want, ultimate goal is either a heart shot or a double set of lungs. If you don't have any air, you can't run. So ultimate deer shot there is a double lung. Once he gets that other side cut, I'm going to help him get his, pull the hide down.
Can we lower her?
Yeah, let me lower it real quick.
I'd say about a foot here. Make it a little easier to get up top on this back side. A little bit more. Yeah, keep going. All right, there's good.
There.
All right, so let's start here. This should be good now. So this portion here, you can see that the difference, you know, this is not exposed air because there was skin on it. This is exposed air. So we'll get that cut off. And really there's no way of preventing this in a sense, especially right in here, because when you do gut this deer, that you've got to split this right here, and there's just no way of getting around that. So
it kind of seals the meat from the outside in.
It does. It dries this out here. So you know, once we do, we'll skim this off. Probably when we're at the final process. Right. We'll skim that off, and then it'll look like fresh meat here. So.
And that's a good portion of a roast there, right?
That is, yeah. Well, one of the things that I like to do is the way I learned it is I basically break all these roasts down hanging on here. So I don't do quartering or anything like that. It's easier when it's hanging for me to do it that way. So.
Right. That's the way I prefer to do it too. I know some folks quarter everything up right there on the spot.
Yeah, if you don't have anywhere to hang it, and you've got to quarter it, then that's the best option to do it. Because then you can take it in the house and work.
That, or like say if you're hunting public land and you're like 2 miles and you can't take an ATV out there to drag it, that's even a 100-pound deer dragging dead weight's pretty rough. So you might want to quarter it and pack it out.
Yeah, it's going to be easier to pack 100 pounds quartered up than 150 with everything on it. So.
Right, and on your backpack as opposed to dragging. If we can get in there and see, we can see the entry right here on the rib or not. It's probably too dark in there right now. Get that other side of that leg done, and we'll be ready to rock and roll on pulling it down. So my battery pack today, I had my crossbow when I was trying to film the shot. I didn't realize the jolt going forward. So the limb, I was clear, but the jolt made the limb hit my battery pack here, and this battery pack now is kind of a little cracked on the back.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Yeah. It scared me even.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to wash her out because it was raining and everything else. So.
Right.
I forgot when I got over here I was going to rinse her out real quick, but I forgot.
I don't know if it'd done really a whole lot of good anyways, because with that being dried like it, it's not going to come off.
Yeah, well, a lot of the junk left and all of that, so.
This was about the size that I shot at this morning. Yeah.
when you shot? Did they hang around or
Yeah.
did they take off?
Blew at me and walked off like it was nothing. Didn't even know what the heck happened, honestly. It was dead in line, but it was directly under from where she was standing. When I went down to get that arrow or the bolt, it was directly under. So I don't know what I did.
Yeah, it's just off one way or another. Those things that the moment you don't sight it in, it's fine, and the next it's
I know.
terrible.
All it did was hang in the basement. So. What's crazy is she came in, I shot her, missed her at 20. She came back in, I shot her at 30, missed her. So I was out of bolts, so I climbed down and grabbed my 20-yard bolt, climbed back and cleaned it off, and was watching the video footage of it.
Did you only have 2?
Yeah, I only had 2 bolts, and I was watching the video footage of it. And about 10 minutes later, I look up and that doe was coming back with like 3 more. I'm like, you sucker. She came in by herself again. That's funny. And I shot at her again a second time, or the third time, and she still didn't spook. She just kind of walked off, and they didn't spook until I climbed down to go see where my arrow went. And then there was 3 other deer with her that I didn't even see. They were everywhere today.
Alright guys, I'm just cutting down through this and kind of getting into the section of the tailbone here, and as you can see, I'm only using this little knife with hardly any pressure on it. This tailbone's always tricky because, you know, you can get a saw in there or whatever else, but there are joints in here. So basically I got into that joint and just pushed down and popped it open, and this whole thing will come off. So that'll kind of save you a step from trying to saw it or rip it off, because it's not going to rip off, but you can find that joint there and just press down in it and cut right through it. So just a little trick for you there, so you don't have to struggle on that part of it.
Yeah, this is the most time-consuming part. So once pretty much you're getting ready to cut on that last leg there. Once you get all the way around it,
Yeah,
we'll
once it's around, it'll roll.
Pull right on down.
And you can see right in here, you know, I did cut into the meat a little bit right here, but you know, it's gonna be something that happens, especially when you're doing this part of it around the legs, things like that. So the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So some deer I don't do any of that, and some like this one I have it. So this one is the first one of the year, so
A little rusty.
a little rusty from last year. So
It's all right. We'll put a few more on the ground. We'll get plenty of practice this year, hopefully. KK's all interested. She has to watch it.
and so here you can see we can already go ahead and start
Pulling
pulling
down.
this down. So I'll just kind of peel off on here. So let me get that piece there.
I'll come on this side and do it.
Yeah, let me see some. Get some white in here on it. There we go. All right, so we're past all of this part. So once you get past the tail here, then you don't have to worry about any other bones or anything like that. And one trick you can see here too, this bone is not split. A lot of guys will go in while they're gutting and everything and split that bone to get to this section to clean out. But the trick that I've always done is you can take your knife, which they've got tools to do it with too, but you can take your knife and you can go on this side of it and this side while you're processing it in the field, and just kind of cut all that out, and then it'll pull right out. So you can leave this intact. You don't have to worry about dulling a knife up or anything, or carrying a saw with you to cut this tailbone here, this pelvis. So just a little trick to get in there and get everything pulled out of there. So
'Cause that's a thick part of the bone right there.
it's a big part. I mean, you're gonna have to.
Normally hang it up here, we use a saw for that. So.
Yeah, you have to use a saw and then cut it open. But this, and you can do that after the fact, because like this would be easy. Just get a sawzall. You don't have to carry it in the field with you or anything like that. So that makes it nice there. So yeah, we're gonna here we're gonna go ahead and just rip this skin down and get it down as far as we can go. Another trick you can do too is in the hide here, you can take and just basically cut you a slit right here. And this stuff's, I mean, this hide's pretty durable, so you can just come down in here like this and just go ahead and just pull it on down that way. You're gonna get a little stretch in here, but nothing terrible. So we'll get that ripped down. I've seen guys ball this up like this and pull it. You can do it that way as well.
Yeah, this is the part where I've seen them take a tennis ball and wrap around here and take a string
Yeah.
and hook it to the ball of a truck.
Yep. Yeah, that'll save you some time as well. So we'll get this cut out of here. All this dead, dried out skin. Where it's getting hung up at right here. So
That's what's gotten crusty and hard on you.
yeah, about halfway through, you got to come in here and kind of trim some of this up so it'll
Trim it up
pull
along the
down
ribs.
next one, yeah. Let's see if we can get some more in here. Alright, getting caught over there. Now you just gotta take this, some pull right off, some don't. Hopefully we'll have a cake video for you guys this year. That would be nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we can
We'll
get a
have to
buck.
just do that even if we don't get a shooter. But
Shoot, it's
or a
been
one mount. But
unfortunately for me, I've passed on some because I'm spoiled and I was trying to get a really nice buck. And this, I think last season made 4 or 5 seasons since I've put a buck on the ground. I've passed on some that I would normally have shot in the past.
yeah, it's been a while.
So you get a taste of a decent buck, then you start passing on stuff that you normally would never
Yeah,
passed
I'm
on.
gonna
So.
pass on, yeah. I'm gonna trim this up because this is.
So I used to be brown as down, you know, if it was a spike that came in first, that's what got shot first, you know. Now I kind of try and look at behind them and wait, and a little bit more of an educated hunter, try and take mature bucks and mature does, but sometimes at the beginning of the year and you've been eating on your deer meat all year, you just need to get that first one down on the ground and get some meat.
Another trick I do here, which this meat right here, if the inside's good, you can try to use it, but the inside on this is pretty dried up. So I don't really ever use this like cape part of it here. So
Right.
what we're gonna do, which let's see, yeah, there's just not much there. So it's dried out. So from here, you can basically, because you don't want to cut in the back straps or anything. So there's a bone right here too. So you could take your knife right on the inside of this.
Inside of that leg.
And just follow kind of this line all the way down to that first rib here. So we can come in right down here to the first rib.
I heard you hit
There's
it.
the rib. And you just follow it right on out so it cleans that out. Another little trick you can do with your scraps is just throw it right in the carcass right there
in
like
the
that.
cage.
So, because I don't use that for anything there. It's just too thin.
And for those of you who are watching and haven't processed one yet or don't know what parts of your meats come from what, this part is like the prime part of your deer there. That's your tenderloin.
Yeah.
Runs on both sides from pretty much the rear rump to the back of the front shoulders there.
So we'll go ahead and I'm gonna finish pulling this skin down. You can tell it's getting caught on some of the connection tissue and stuff like that on this. So you might have to trim this up a little bit as you're pulling, just to get it broken there. And what we'll do, because once we get down in here to the shoulders, we'll have to trim it up and everything to get it around the arm, or the leg. So we'll just keep going down here, trimming this down as we go. And you kind of run it right down the side of the chest bone here. So. And if you want to swing over here, Dave, I'll show you this real quick. So basically I ran that one right down the side of the chest bone here, so we can come in here and just kind of work that this way and get a line going there too. So
Yeah, because ultimately you want to be able to come across the front arms and pretty much pull the hide all the way down to what, the back of the ears, right?
yeah, as far down the neck as you can get. This doe is not too big, so I don't know if we're going to get any neck meat off of her. So we may only pull it down just past that, because when we get in here, these back straps will actually run a little bit into the neck. So
Gotcha.
you want to make sure you don't just go in there and square that off and get every piece of meat you can in that. So that one will come through there at the bottom. So we'll just kind of work that down here as much as we can. You can see I'm kind of getting into a little bit of section here, but there's not much meat there.
Right.
That, so.
Your front legs
Which I
are
think this is
hard
the
anyway.
brisket right here. Anyways.
That's the brisket part of it.
Yeah, she doesn't have very much going on there with it. So this doe is probably, I don't know, 3 years old maybe at the most. So she's not a
She
very
had
large
babies with
doe.
her, right? So
She did have babies, yeah.
she's not this year's fawn. She's just a small doe.
She had some good sized fawns with her, and 2 little fawn bucks, little button bucks. So she had those with her.
That's probably why she's so small, because she was her body was taking all the hit trying to nurse her two twin babies. So
Yeah, so once we get down in here, we'll just have to be easy with this. Kind of cut down into this here. And what we'll do, let's see if I can get this split here. Yeah, there we go. Kind of come down the other side of this.
like the armpit of it, essentially.
Yeah. And take that down there. All right.
See a lot of that darkness there. That's from where she's bled out and had a lot of blood under the surface of her skin. All right in here, it kind of looks like bruising, but that's just from where the blood is come out from the hole and went around. All that cuts off or washes off, so don't let that deter you from getting any meat.
Yeah, I've seen, here we're not gonna get much, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you get other shots and stuff like that, you may get that on pieces, and most of it'll be like surface type stuff.
Right.
Especially if it's not a main part. Sometimes you can lose a whole shoulder, depending on where it's shot at. Especially
Especially with gun.
Yeah, with a gun, you're gonna get a little more damage there. So just be if you can make it without a shoulder shot, great. That's much better.
Put it just behind the shoulder and get that double lung or a heart or something.
Yeah.
That's why it's best to wait for that completely broadside shot. That way you don't have to worry about hitting any shoulders.
Yeah.
At least we ain't hit dead of winter yet, so your fingers aren't froze to death. Like a lot of times trying to.
Yeah,
Right,
trying
hide
to figure it out, yeah.
So you're just about pretty much to the neck now, right?
Yeah, just almost there. So get this trimmed up a little bit here. We can pull the rest of that down.
For those of you who don't know, what's crazy about these deer too is you start processing these front legs. Literally, if it wasn't for some tendons and the hide holding the front legs on, all it is a ball and socket. There's no bone-on-bone joint that connects anything. Leg just essentially falls right off when you cut up in the shoulder. There's a shoulder blade right here, and you go all the way around that shoulder blade and cut with it. Once you get that hide off, and that leg, the front leg there, it falls off.
Yeah.
Every time I process one up, it just kind of amazes me, I guess. So you can really see in the rib cage now. Right there is
That'll be the exit.
the exit there where he shot it. It's a pretty good shot.
Alright, so we are
Pretty well past the shoulders and down to the neck now. So now it's down to the processing the meat part now.
you can see here there's separation in that shoulder and the neck here, so probably get some meat off that, but you can see the shoulder is here and then just comes right around in here. So like to just take it off and we can set it aside. Get somewhere for this.
That there earlier.
So we've got here, well, let me try to get into the neck a little bit. Just not much there on this dough. So where we'll start, I'm gonna go ahead and lower her down a little bit.
Alrighty. That's our little setup. Just on a pulley system up around the barn.
All right, so where we're going to start at is right in here. So we're going to get, again, I like to process it, everything, we're going to debone it basically on here. And so we got a lot of hair and everything, just, you don't have to worry about that. Of course, these are coming off and we'll be able to get it all cleaned up afterwards. But for the processing part of it, I do like to start here on these roasts and then split it up from there rather than just one whole side here. So we're going to start from this side because it's a little more accessible here. And what we'll do is on this one, you can see it a little bit over here than you can here. It's still got like a patch of protective layer here. But it kind of, you can see there's a white right in here, kind of just goes down like this. And the first one that I usually like to start at, you can see where this comes down and then you can feel this point right here. That's basically, I don't know if it's like a knee or what that is, a hip bone, but this bone will come in here and then runs in. So what we'll do, the first thing I like to do is take off this ball roast here. Of course, not ginormous on this one, but this one will have it. And so you can cook this one up into a roast. Last year I'd actually slice this into some steaks. I did that with all the roast. So the first cut I do is just right under this. You'll kind of feel as this is coming down in here. So you can just kind of feel it cut. So just run your knife kind of back and forth in there and you'll feel it hit some bone in there. So right there, I'm hitting bone. So
Not far in.
Not far in on this one. And what you can do, just make sure all that's good. And these actually have like a socket in here, and you can get your finger in here and just kind of hit that bone, and then you want to work down.
Just right down it.
And you can see there's kind of a line right here with these two meeting. It goes right down in here, and so we're going to follow that down, and we'll get a nice roast in here. And if you want to come on this back side right here, this is actually a good spot for the line as well. You can see right here.
So you can see it better on this side.
Sure. Yeah, all these, especially even the shoulders, everything is connected, but is separate from each other as far as these lines. Like if you can find those lines, then you can process a deer for sure. So we can come in here, just kind of follow that down, and as we're cutting this, we're pulling as well. So
pulling down.
You can see here. There's like
you can see the bone.
You can see the bone here. I'm just following down here, just slightly on it, more cutting the meat than the bone, because you'll dull your knife up. But this is just a protective layer on these two, and you can see the separation in there. So as we continue to come down, we'll just continue to pull that down, break it away. We'll cut into that right there so we can pull it away a little better. You just keep cutting down here, and you'll hit bone again. So from here, since we're already on here, and we're going to take this off anyways, you can kind of just work your fingers in here and then take your knife and work your knife in here to get this film off here, because you definitely don't want that. So we'll work on this here.
That's called a ball roast because it kind of essentially looks like a little bit of a football.
It's like a little mini football, yeah. So once you have that, you can kind of just work your finger in here and it'll separate most of that. And then if you do run into a spot, just kind of run your knife in there, work that out. And you can see it's starting to separate here. And we've got the protective layer on both sides of this here, so it's going to be in there. So this part is already dried out.
You just cut that a little bit off.
Just try to trim that up as you're going here, and again you can pull in here and this separation. You see this silver skin or sinew is what they call it, I guess, as well. But it's some tough stuff. You're not going to want to cook with that. It just doesn't cook out or get tender or anything like that to where you can
Doesn't
chew
even
the
boil
meat.
down,
It's-
add flavor or nothing.
Yeah, it's not pork fat or beef fat. So as you work this out, you can just kind of cutting back and forth on this. You'll feel it kind of loosen, especially if you keep downward pressure on it. You're going to see it here. It's just going to start kind of peeling off as I'm going. So once you get down to that bone, there's the ball joint right here, a ball joint. And you can kind of just let the knife do the work. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on it, and it'll just kind of roll down to another point is what it'll do. So I'm going to actually get in here, cut some more of this off here.
Still a decent size for a small dough. You got your hand on.
Yeah,
It's
it come
about the
out
size
pretty
of your
good
hand.
there. So I mean, this will definitely. I mean, even this size. I mean, that will feed, 2 people. Maybe feed a small family of 4. If you don't eat much.
Especially you add some potatoes and carrots with it.
Yeah, you add some stuff in there, and it'll be good. So we'll finish cutting that off, and you'll get to a point where it's basically. You can kind of see how this is going down,
Right.
and it just peels itself off. So we'll get in here, trim some more of this off, and your connective layer will end up, being done. So you can see the last part here. It's just basically this film, and you can peel it right off there. So, if you want, you got to come off anyways. So all this, little junk here, if you can get it, just kind of skim that off. It's one less thing you got to do when you're actually finalizing all the meat before you store it. Just kind of trim all that off, get that out of here. Get off what you can. Don't spend a lot of time on it, just enough to get the big stuff off, because you're gonna come back in here. So we don't want any of this junk on there either. So that is one of your ball roasts. So even though this dough's, what would you think, Dave? 100, 110, maybe hanging
Yeah,
here?
maybe.
Maybe hanging. Maybe 100 pounds. And so, that's as big as my hand right there.
Yeah,
So
that's a pretty good size roast.
yeah, so this one, you could tie this up and
That's an
just
automatic
cook it.
too. You get one on each side.
Yeah,
just out of
you get
once.
one on each side on that, and you can cook it right up there. So the finalizing thing, we'll get all this figured out here. So
Or if somebody wants more steaks, you can slice those up and make them into steaks and marinate them and do what you want to do with them.
So you can see that you can I use a small knife there for doing some of this, but you can use a big knife as well. I've seen it done both ways. I've done it both ways. Not really one over the other. It's whatever you prefer, whatever you have, really. You can get these knives right here, probably from Dave here. So just
Yeah.
get with him, and he can get you hooked up with one of these.
I can get you kitchen knife set and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, these knives here. This is one of this knife, for especially processing the meat and doing that sort of thing. It's a semi-stiff boning knife, 6-inch, and these right here are one of the best tools that I've gotten as far as just being able to do everything with it and doing it well. So
Holds the edge well. Sharp.
yeah, it holds an edge well. You can get a lot of use out of it. And so what I'm doing here is basically just cleaning this side up. There's basically, I've heard it called a triangle steak. It's actually a little meaty piece right here. So, if you quarter it up, sometimes this gets missed and gets just thrown into the junk pile. But there is some junk on it, like this right here that I'm cleaning off. But you can see it just kind of peels right off. So,
Case scenario, you can always make it jerky or deer sausage.
yeah. If you don't want this, if you don't want the steak or something, you can see here. So, pretty good little piece of meat right there. We'll just kind of trim it down like that. So not much on that right there. A little bit on there, but some of that's all dried out. So really, it comes down to what you want as far as how much you want to get off of it. You can nitpick this thing for hours. I try to get most of the bulk I can off of it while we're doing this. So you can see here another example of the separation. All this stuff is really separated. So I'm taking the back side of this knife, and you can just get down in there like that. So
Separating
you can
different
stick your finger in
pieces.
there and kind of pull it apart and see that difference. So there's all this, especially all this in here. It's not that hard to do. You just got to follow those lines and everything, and you can do it. So the price of processing these days is always going up. Businesses have to make their money, but at the same time, this can save you, especially if you harvest a lot of deer. This can save you a lot of time and money.
A couple people to help,
Yeah,
so.
some people to help.
Normally I help, but not today.
Yeah, get you some coolers. You can go to town on it, and you can have, you're getting your meat back, you're getting your deer, so there's no issues with that. You don't have to pay that outrageous fee. Go spend your...
It's at least $100 easy right now.
Yeah, and that's just for your basic processing, which is
That's
what I do,
without getting
but,
summer sausage or jerky or anything.
Our process around here, the one that's really the go-to, to get your own deer back, you have to pay more. So
you just get weight for what you turn in.
Yeah, they basically say there's what your weight is, and they go from there. So you're not getting your own deer. It's good and bad because you can do, if you don't mind that, but I like harvesting and doing my own game here,
Right,
so.
knowing that I got my own meat.
Yeah. So really, you clean that up right there. I've heard it called a triangle steak or tri-steak, whatever you want to call it. It's a little bit, just a little piece of meat there. I mean, it's tender. It's going to be tender. It's thin. It'll cook quick and be good and juicy. Yeah. And so you get 2 of these off here if this one comes out okay as well, which I think it should. So just have a little, almost like a butterfly steak, really. So that's a triangle steak piece there. So what we'll do now is now we'll go to this here, which is I guess technically the rump roast, is what we call it that. So again, what we're gonna do is just follow this line down here, so you can kind of feel where everything's at. There's a bone right here, and you can hear it right there, and it comes down to this. So basically, on the other side of this, we're just going to cut right down into here. So I'm going to kind of feel that tendon. So I'm going to go about right in here and just take it right on
straight in,
right on down. You're gonna hit that bone again there. So from here, we'll just kind of come around, and then with that there, what I'm going to do is we're going to come on this side of the bone, just taking the tip of our knife. That's why this knife works really well. It's thin, it's got a little tip on it, and you can just run it. Basically, we're running it right down the same bone right here. And so we'll come in here with it, run it straight down into there, come across with it that way. All this will get picked off later. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of take the tip of our knife and run it right along this bone to just loosen it up from that. And then what we want to do next is come in here, find that pelvic bone, and let's start from in here and go this way to find that. So now we've kind of found that in there. And the shape of this kind of gets to a point on the back end. This ball socket here, you can get, there's ways to kind of work your knife in this socket and pop it out, but then again, this whole leg's going to fall off, and so is your deer. So if you're quartering it, you can use that and debone it that way. So, but in this case, we're going to work all around these bones here. So let's continue to go up here. So we're just really, you're going to work this. You're going to find bones in here, and you just work around that bone. You can memorize the shape of that pelvic bone here, but it's not necessary because you can just find it and go from there. So basically what we're going to do now, we've got both our cuts here and here, is we're just going to start peeling this back. And so you just kind of take the tip of your knife, being careful not to go too far and do too much here. And we're going to, again, work this one, the other side of that bone, just kind of pulling that back, breaking that away from the tendons and all of that. So we'll keep working this here. And again, just keep pressure on this, and a lot of it will just pull right away. So all you gotta do is just hit it, touch it with your knife, and it's gonna pull. So let's go in here. So you can see right in here the silver skin. So that's another muscle structure in there. So we've already started some separation in there. You can see here there's a big tendon vein right there. So hopefully when we show you this, I'll expose kind of some nasty stuff we don't want in our meat. So let's go ahead and get this trimmed up. So as you get under here, you can start seeing that separation more. And so there's some connective tissue here. Yeah, and so when you start seeing that white filmy stuff, you know you're in the right place getting it cut. So we'll continue that there. And at some point, you can kind of reach on the back side of it and pull it. So we got into the roast a little bit here, but we'll go around that for now. And so as we get into here, we can pull this back, and it's gonna expose this a little more. You can see it's just the separation and all this right here.
Right there, we're getting into another piece of meat.
Right here, yeah. So what you're gonna get, let's get that trimmed up so you can see. I can really just pull this back and lay it over. And what you're gonna want to do here,
I'll come around.
let's see, you wanna come around? Yeah.
I'll come
See if we
around.
can get some light on it this way. There you go. And so we've kind of got into the roast a little bit here with cutting into it, but we'll just kind of trim that up and go from there on that. So it's pulled back, and now all we got to do is basically just continue again, pull that back, cut that line right there, and you can see, I'll show you here, there's this like cap on this basically. So really that dried off portion right there, I mean you can use it, but it almost gets to a point where it just gets cut off anyways while you're doing all your processing. So as we continue to pull this, we'll continue to cut here, and it's kind of just
Pulls apart.
pulling right off. Yeah, so we're gonna get into the pelvic bone. So yeah, so what we've got here, we've got this like cape over it, and so I'll probably end up pulling that cape off because that cape is dried out on that. But then you're going to have a big roast under there, and we don't do a lot of roast, but all these roasts on here make great for slicing your steaks. I did it last year, and it worked out really well to get you some more steaks. Because on a deer, you don't really get steaks as you do like on a cow or something, but as many. So on this, you can use your roast as steaks if you don't do a lot of roast, or you can keep a couple and go from there. So that's a roast there, and that cap will be taken off later.
Quite a bit bigger than the other one.
All right, and then what we'll show you now, and this is kind of why I like doing it on the rack here. This here, this little
Squared
rectangle piece here, the guy that I've learned from or watched to do all this for sure, this is basically a secret tenderloin. It has a lot of the same texture in it, and it's not going to get put in the roast there. So you're getting that.
See the line.
Yeah, you can see
coming down right there.
Yep.
And cutting right across.
Yeah, so it's just a long rectangle piece here. It's like a mini back strap basically, but if you just quarter this and then just cut it like, just generically, you're gonna miss this tenderloin right here. So this is another steak,
I'm sure I've done that in the past learning.
Yeah,
Messed that all up.
I want to start on this and just kind of follow. There's a line in here as well, and we'll follow this out, and you'll see how it comes out here. All right, from this side you can see here that where the separation is on it. So we can come down in here, and it's got a little left over from that roast, but the two got a silver skin here and a silver skin here on the different muscle groups. So let's go ahead and we'll get down in that. You can see the separation here as well. So just cut off what we don't want here. All right, I'm going to start from this way.
Just pretty much cut down that line that we showed you.
Yeah. You can come right down that. And again, it'll basically separate itself here. And then you'll get to basically a point down in here. And at the bone, you can just square it off right there. So you have a whole nother tenderloin basically right there. So you get two of those, and it's a whole nother meal right there. Not it just didn't get thrown in the roast pot. You got that one.
What about the good old inner tenderloin?
I've still got them in here, so we'll get those out. Which a little bit of dryness on them, but we'll get that cut off. So the one good thing I like about separating it on this, and you can do it when it's off as well, but you just don't want to chunk the whole leg in here. Is all this right here? There's a lymph node right here too, and so you get that in your meat. All this right here. If you just throw the whole leg in there, all that junk's going to be in there. So it's got stuff in there you don't want to get in your meat or
Cooking
even
down
eat.
your meat.
Yeah, cooking down your meat for sure. So what I like to do is just come in here and try to trim all that off that I can down in here, and then that'll get it off the meat there, and we can go on to the next one.
Use several roasts then off of one side.
You can,
one
yeah.
leg.
So instead of just doing one big roast, you can definitely get it split up and see what you've really got. So you'll have those on both sides. So what we've got here, let me go ahead and get this cut off and out of the way. Just some extra pieces. This is going to be another roast here. What the technical name for it is, I'm not sure, but we're going to basically do the same thing. We're going to come in here, square this off into here, and this one's going to run all the way down into this. So let's go ahead and
Run right in the top of that back strip.
Yeah, it runs right into there. And from this one, I think is like an L-shaped type of roast here. So basically, we're cutting right down into the bone again, coming right around this, making sure we're good there. And then this one, at this point, we're detached. And the only attachment is the bone. So there's a little bit here. So I'm actually going to take this and trim this off while we've got it on this here. So let's go down in here, just kind of barely taking your knife on that silver skin because it will separate it. So we'll come in here. We'll get all this separated out. Cut that off while we got it here. And come in. Kind of following that in there. I'll see if we can let you all see this a little better here in the light.
Oh, let me come around on that side.
Yeah, so now that we're in the light here, you can kind of see how it's just separating right down into here. And so, again, this top layer is just connecting these two muscle groups together. So, we'll find this in here, kind of find the pelvis, which we've got it there. And I'm actually going to come down into here. Actually, a technique too is so you don't cut into the meat, is you run your knife, you turn your knife kind of in a little bit, doing it here, but to show this, but you just turn it in just a little bit and kind of pull it down. It's kind of like filleting a fish. You just run it against that that white skin, sinew, fat there that you have. And that's just it's gonna cut into that rather than the meat, so you don't get a lot of junk on there. So now we can come in here. I'm just gonna trim that off, and you can kind of see the way this is gonna come down into here now.
Curvature of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to get in here and let's see if we can get this on the other side here into some light for you guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run this knife up through here to cut some of this fat off, so we don't have to get unnecessary junk in here. So there, this pelvis is pointy basically, so it comes out to a point like this and then drops down into here. So what we're going to do, let me go ahead and trim this off as well there. So that's trimmed off. All right, so that's now trimmed off as well. So what you can do is just put your knife just a little bit in there, and you can see how I'm having to run this here, and then just right around there. You can come in there, so it kind of fell off right there, yeah. So basically what I'm doing now, you can see in here as well, we don't want any of that junk in there, so we're just going to trim that back we're going to go ahead and trim this up here. Now, once we get in here, go ahead and you can see how that's going down there.
It's pulling right out.
Pulling right off that bone, so it's just attached to that right there. So go ahead and get that. Just utilize, really, we have a 6-inch knife, but you're utilizing maybe the last inch of it,
Yeah.
or the first inch of it, you know, just to break it off that bone right there, just so you get as much as you can. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to see, we're going to leave that right there. I'm going to try to trim this. Basically, just let it fall off itself here. Just being real careful not to go real deep and not to go real fast. You don't want to get yourself hurt. You kind of see how I'm just filleting it right off that. Yeah, so just a little bit of pressure and it will peel right off. So
There's your roast.
You know, once it's off, it looks pretty straight. So this is another one, a big roast. You could really split this into two, or you could stake it out. So
yeah. That's probably at least a 2-pound roast right there.
Yeah, that's a big one. So the bigger, of course, the bigger animal. So you get a buck, you're gonna have
ball roast,
almost twice the size of roast of these probably.
Yeah, and this is off a small deer, and this is off on one side. So, got your ball roast, your little triangle steak, your rump roast here, which is still a good piece. Your hidden tenderloin. I don't know what you call this one. Straight roast. I don't know what you call it, but it's a pretty good size piece of roast there. So, that's pretty much.
Well, I think we've got one more in here.
You got one more piece over there.
So what we'll do is we're just gonna come trim down this. Because where we're getting to now, you're getting into the territory of your back strap. So you don't want to go too deep in here. You just want to kind of follow that again. Just took the back of my knife and went right up that. So got little connectors here. We'll get those cut off. And then this kind of runs up into here as well. So you're going to get, we should get that whole piece right there. So let's see if we can get this turned here and we'll show you guys. So what I'm going to do, see if I can fill down in there. A lot of this stuff, you almost
separate it.
Don't even need a knife for, in a sense. Again, we're just utilizing the end of it here. So we're going to get into that. So once we get into here, don't really want that unnecessary stuff in there. Actually going to, there, we'll trim that off. Just as you do this, you'll see what works for you. You know what knife angle is. Just, again, pay attention to where your knife is, where you're cutting, how much pressure you're putting down, because you don't want to. Last thing we want to do is have you guys have an accident out there. So you can see here, it's just going to start separating. Again, there's that separation right there. That's going to come up in there. So we're going to have that separation here. Again, I'm just taking the back of the knife and running it. I'm not even really cutting anything. So here we've got like a vein. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to come up this way. I just trim that off. Get into that this way. And so now what we'll do, we'll kind of just square all this off and we can pull right on out. So this one's probably going to have a little more, you know, veins, tendons in it. At least on this back side here. So this would be a good roast. This might be a good something for jerky for sure, but it's a good little piece here. So what we'll do is we'll just continue to run that down here into that, and really, yeah, you can see the separation in here as well. You're going to get to a point where it's just that silver skin, so right there,
top of the back strap.
Yeah, so it just starts peeling right off at that point. You can get in here, trim off that, and there you go. So got a little roast, you know,
Another
family of two.
win.
Yeah, so maybe good for the burger pile as well, whatever you want to do with it. So got a little piece in there. All right, so what we'll do later is, you know, just at the end, you can go back and get what you want.
Trim it up for
Trim it up, get all your, you know, for your burger, any of your little stuff you want to do. You can go back and get all that. You got a bunch here. You got some of this stuff here. That's good trimmings for sure. So now what we're going to do, we're gonna go ahead and process this back side, or this other side.
So he has completely finished off processing off both of the back legs. We just turned the camera off there for a minute while he was doing the other side. So now we're going to do the back straps and then we'll be done.
Alright, so on these back straps you have bones right here as well. And so they kind of run this way on both sides. You can see that right there. So we're going to go in just right on the back of that. Right from the spine. Just go in right there.
You can feel a bone on the back side. You just follow it down.
Yep, just follow that down. Same thing here. I'll have little knobs right here basically where it's jutting out, so bone right there. And then the next thing we're going to do is as we come across here, just you can take your knife. Let's actually start kind of just in the middle here. Find the spine, go right alongside of it. Just kind of hug the spine as much as you can because you want to get all the meat you can out of it. And so you kind of feel the ribs and everything going on in there, the bones. Just come on up, come on out that way. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of get in there and just work that loose right there. So that'll get you access into this. So the spine will have those basically vertebrae kind of sticking out. You can see right there's a vertebrae sticking out. So you just work your knife down, past those, and then you go from there. So again, just staying on the inside of the spine. You'll cut it all the way down through the neck because that runs all the way down in there. So what we'll do, so now we'll just kind of come in here with our knife and just kind of work it off those bones. Kind of like how we did, just you're pulling pressure here. Kind of just peeling it back. Using the tip of that knife to peel that back. And so you're going to come out here, and so that is the start of that one. So we'll do the same thing on this one, just right on the other side. Going up the spine. And what I'm going to do, actually trim this off right there. There's that. Get that out of here. All right, and then so again we're in here. We're just going to work this just like that. And just work it in there. Working around the bones. Everything else that's in there. Kind of just run your fingers in there.
Kind of feel it.
Yeah, kind of feel what you got left. And we're hitting bone right there, so just work around it. And again, we'll start peeling that side off. There we go. That's getting it. There we go. And we'll just kind of take this one all the way down again. Staying on the inside of that all the way down. All right. So basically all we're doing here is then working our knife around those vertebrae.
Peel right off to the ribs.
And you kind of see the motion that I'm going through here is just kind of like a
Swooping motion. Yeah.
kind of just U shape. We're just cutting around that.
With the curvature of the vertebrae, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of this while we're here. Okay. Again, just keeping downward pressure on it. It opens everything up there to be had. And you're gonna have this big thing of junk on all of this. So, you know, if you can just, you know, you can cut some of that off while you're here. And I come down in here as you go and just work your knife. Again, we have a 6-inch knife, but we're only using 1 inch of it. So keep that being cut there. Again, we'll cut into that, get rid of that. So now what we're getting into is this being behind the shoulder. So at this point, we're just going to kind of pull, and then with this longer knife, you can work down into there. So as you pull, just keep pressure on it. You can keep pulling down in there and just pull it right out. So it'll come to a point just like that. You can see it goes down almost to the front of that shoulder.
Yep.
That's a good size backstrap for this dough.
Yeah.
So we'll do the same thing on here, just kind of, don't do that. There we go. Number 2.
Makes this the thumbnail page. All the meats. So even from a small deer, we have 2 round roasts, 2 decent sized rump roasts here. Those hidden tenderloins you talked about, good for steaks. You can either make a steak out of that, or jerky, or hamburger, sausage, whichever. These are your inner tenderloins. They're small and tender. You can almost just pull them out as opposed to cutting them out. That's just some scrap meat there. You got these long back straps here. A lot of folks like to cut all this film off here, split them about halfway, put some onions in them or something, you know, and then wrap it with bacon and smoke it or grill it or cook it. They turn out mouth-watering there. It's making my mouth water thinking about it. Then you have these 2 roasts right here. So you have essentially a total of 4 roasts from a small deer. That's going to do feed quite a bit of folks. Just this one little deer here can supply a family for a little bit. Alright guys, so that wraps it up. Johnny's going to finish up the front shoulders here. Like I said, they pretty much just follow the shoulder blade on around. And you can get a little bit of meat cutting off there just following the lines. So what you're seeing behind me here on the table is quite a bit of good meat. Give me a subscribe, and hope you enjoyed the video. And for those of you who are learning or want to attempt to process your own deer, you're getting into homesteading and killing off your land and harvesting or whatever, hopefully this video will be a good use to you guys. Thank you.